All right, with Coach Borseth for the Coaches Show in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back into the Green Bay Phoenix Basketball Coaches Show, sponsored by Prevea Health, the official healthcare provider of the Green Bay Phoenix. We shift over now to the women's side of the portion as we're joined by Green Bay coach Kevin Borseth. Coach, really appreciate your time. How are you today?
Very good, Matt. Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you bet. Before we get to your program, I want to ask you real quick on the men's side of things. Coach Will Ryan got his first win this past weekend. Do you remember your first win coaching at Green Bay, and does it hold a special place for you?
I don't. I don't remember, honestly. I feel like I've been chasing my tail, Matt, for over 30 years. So I don't know, but I'm happy for Will and his crew. I know they've been working hard, doing a good job getting himself established, and it was nice to see those guys get off to a nice start there. So
yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to this past weekend in a moment. Going into this past weekend, it was a really, everything's odd about this year, but it was an odd 3 weeks in that you had some games scheduled, they went away, you rescheduled, they went away, and then it was the holiday period. How did you handle the holiday period with your kids? Did they get to go home? Did they have extended time away? Was everybody cautious about what's going on? Like, that can't be an easy choice for you and your coaching staff on how you handle that.
well, that was a pretty delicate situation right around the league. I know initially they were going to keep us here through Christmas, and the women's coaches on the league side wanted our players to be able to go home for Christmas. We felt that was important, and obviously they allowed that. I mean, we start our conference games on December 12th. The men didn't start theirs till December 19th, which, they were forced to stay here over Christmas. And our kids got a chance to go home for 3 days, which was nice. That's a sacred time of year, in my opinion. I'm glad our kids would be able to go back. We sent notes to the parents, obviously, telling them that it was important that they were aware that there were some risks involved in this as well. So I think our kids did a good job, and our parents did a good job, obviously, of trying to minimize, massive family gatherings. Christmas time's sometimes that's difficult, but so far so good. But it's a very delicate issue, obviously, especially with all the things that are going on. But our kids got a chance to go home, so that was nice.
Was it even maybe more important for them to see their families this year, where we've talked about it before? It's not cool for them that they don't get to have their parents and family members at games this year. And I know that's something that you have lamented. Does the fact that they're not seeing them at games to make them being able to see them at least for a few days around Christmas time that much more important?
Well, the jury's still out on the mental part of this whole thing, and I don't know that we all feel there's mental drain on everybody, especially the students and student athletes. We're able to practice, which is really nice. I think if we weren't able to practice, obviously we had to sit in our rooms in isolation and then not be able to see our friends and not be able to see our parents. I think that would be very taxing. Fortunately, we've been able to practice for the most part. And of course, anytime you're able to see your parents, especially those young kids being able to go home for just a stretch, it certainly is an advantage. I feel, I don't know that's something that's mandatory, but I just think it's a nice thing considering the fact right now the parents aren't able to see their kids play. And I know that's a big thing for them. And I totally understand that, being a parent.
Since we last did a coaches show, league play got started. You lost 2 games against Milwaukee, and then you have that long break, and you come back with an overtime win against Oakland. And then on Sunday, you put up 92 points and win by 30 plus. After that second game against Milwaukee, you talked about the team need to be put in better positions and just kind of get better, and everybody being able to be where they're supposed to be as the game is going on. What did you think about the improvement you saw from the Milwaukee weekend to the Oakland weekend?
Well, we've made some adjustments. I think the effort the kids have had has been really good, and they're doing everything we're asking them at this point. It's just a matter, like you said, putting the pieces in the right place, getting yourself ready for the next move. It's kind of like a chess match, and our post play is a little bit different. Where in the past we've had just pretty much more post players that would lock down the block carriers, but now we got post players that different players play differently. So we have to be able to put those pieces in the right spot. So I think we did some things that gave us at least some inklings of what do we expect moving forward. Hopefully we can utilize some of those pieces beneficially, but your offense is really geared toward trying to find some commonality every time you step on the court, knowing where people are going to be and creating the proper space to do things. Then, of course, just making baskets. But I thought the second game particularly, we we were really, I don't say we did a better job because I don't know. It's still a work in progress, Matt. It is. We're nowhere near where we need to be at this point. There's a whole lot of things that have to happen, but I think we're finding some things out about ourselves, and that's probably the biggest piece. So all in all, I guess Saturday's game showed that.
I know you talk all the time about, worry about yourselves, like get better yourselves, be who you are, but you just alluded to having, different post pieces that can kind of do different things as a coach and a coaching staff. Is it fun for you to have these different pieces that you can do different things with, where you can look at the opposition and say, okay, there something's open for us that works best with this player, and being able to put those players into the best position to be successful?
Well, I think the hard part now is just trying to find, we've got players that it's hard to find playing time, what pieces are going to be where, and where it may not work one game, it may work another game for a player. So I think it's hard on players when they're not sure exactly why they're not playing. Mm-hmm. That's the hard piece, Matt. There's not only a strategic piece, but there's a psychological piece that goes along with it. So we're trying to not only find the right spots, but trying to educate our players in the process, because every one of them, there's not that much of a separator. There's not like one person just separates. I think at this point right now, kids, it's obvious that Caitlyn Hibner is really our kid. She does a lot of things for us, and a couple others kind of fit in there, but there's not that big of a separating piece where why can't I play? Why should the other kid play kind of thing? So I think it's nice to be able to have that, the different pieces, because we've got a lot of them. It's a matter of using those kids efficiently and getting them to understand, in the process. So it's like I might sound like a broken record or not really sure what I'm doing here, but it's good. It's a work in progress. And we're just nice to have a lot of pieces to be able to do it.
No, that's interesting. I'm going to ask you more about Sydney Levy in a moment, but since you alluded to it, you add her to the roster, and if you bring somebody in and put them in the rotation, that you can't play her those minutes without somebody else losing some minutes. Are these conversations that you have with players on your team to try to help them understand what's going on, help them understand that they have an importance to the team, even if their playing time is going down? I just can't imagine that's easy.
No, I don't think any coach in the country would tell you that's an easy task. It's not, because I just sometimes as a player, I know when I was a player thinking back, and believe it or not, I can remember that you didn't understand sometimes why you weren't playing while somebody else was playing. Probably because you want to get on the court, and I totally understand that, and I sympathize. And I try to, as best I can, explain to players what we're doing and why we're trying to do it, and not just do it haphazardly. Although we don't do that all the time, but that's a very delicate piece from a player's perspective, because we feel we've got players that want to be here. They got capabilities of doing a lot of great things. Obviously, we want to take care of them when they're here. So, and of course, Sydney being put into the picture, cut some time down on some people, at least at this point. It doesn't mean that's going to be the way it's going to always be, but there's maybe a little less to go around potentially.
What is it specifically for Sydney now being eligible to play after the blanket waiver was approved by the NCAA? You're 2-0 with her there. She's put up scoring numbers. She's rebounded the ball well. What has she brought to your club?
I think, if you haven't played collegiate basketball before and you're on your first rodeo, it's hard to really, it happens so fast your freshman year. I think every athlete would tell you that their freshman year just whizzed by and they didn't even know what happened. What just happened? What happened? And I think Sydney's been there before. So she's seen a couple of years of collegiate playing experience, so she can kind of visualize the whole picture. She's not really worried about where she fits or how she fits or what the game's going to look like, or the physicality aspect, or being able to adjust, play to play or timeout to timeout, whatever. So that gives us a veteran player, even though she didn't play in our system. She's played a lot of basketball like we play, which is really good. But it's a benefit for us, obviously, having a veteran kid like that, being able to come in and add to our lineup.
I thought, and maybe I'm wrong on this, and feel free to tell me, but when you compare the two games against Oakland, that overtime win in the first game and then the 92-61 win, in that second game, you saw two really different kind of teams. You saw your club that looked really good and bounced back after playing less than 24 hours earlier, and you saw an Oakland team that I thought kind of had lost a half step from the day before. Assuming that my argument there is correct. How proud of your club were you that they were able to come back one day later and put together such a great performance?
Playing back to back is not easy, and I don't think we really know yet what the ramifications of that look like. College hockey's been doing that for years,
Mm-hmm.
playing back to back games, and it's not an easy thing to do. So you don't know from one game to the next exactly what that's going to look like, especially from an injury perspective, But I thought our kids came back. I just said this whole thing's about energy. It always is. Every game you play is having more energy than the other team. And if you do that, chances are you're going to have a very good chance of being successful. You can't drop the ball. And we did on Saturday. We came back and we played with a ton of energy, a ton of positive energy, and got a lot of things done.
You turned the ball over more times than you would have liked to over the weekend. 20 in that overtime game. I think it was 14 on the second game, if I remember correctly. I know you don't like the turnovers, but you're winning games despite them. So is that something where it's a really good teaching moment for you, but at least at this point, it isn't costing you games, if that makes sense?
Well, everything's situational, Matt. It really is. Putting yourself in a great position to be able to make a pass or not make a turnover, whatever the case might be. And a lot of that has to do with the chess pieces, putting them in the right spot. If they're in the right spot and the kids have the ability to make an aggressive decision or an aggressive turnover, which is like a screen and roll, maybe you're bouncing a pass or throwing it to the guy and it gets deflected. It's a very aggressive type thing. It's a very teaching thing, And I think our kids are pretty good with that. So part of those turnover things, fall on schematics. They fall on us as a coaching staff and as a team, because if you put kids in a bad spot, you can't be successful, Where I think some of that potentially could have been the case on Friday. It didn't happen on Saturday. Maybe the energy level was a lot better. Maybe our spacing was a lot better. I'm actually breaking down offensive videotape a lot right now, more so than I've ever done in the past, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work and why it works and why it doesn't work. But I turnovers are key. They're really key, Matt, down the stretch. That's when they're key. Those are the pieces that we really have to be really good at, not turning it over in those scenarios. So you've got to rebound. You got to take care of the ball. Those things are going to be true regardless of what you do. So Saturday was a lot better.
On Friday, your shooting percentage on 2-point shots was through the roof, especially through the first three quarters. You hit a few more threes on Saturday. What's that like right now as you put together your offensive scheme and you're still figuring out who you are? Are you comfortable with the shot selection, 2s versus 3s, and the way that is going right now?
We can shoot, Matt. We got kids that can shoot. So why not utilize that? But we also have to have an inside game, whether it's post up or whether it's a penetration game. So that's a fine line, trying to get that, because we want to be able to shoot. We need to stretch people because we got kids that can shoot it. So why not? I mean, that's a fun part of the game for the kids. It's a fun part of the game for the fans. It's very difficult for the other team when you start stretching the floor. Gives you a lot of good opportunities. So we're excited about that. Like you say, we had some really good rhythm shots on Saturday that, really separated us, I thought. So it's a really good observation on your behalf.
This is probably something that I'm going to revisit with you every time we do one of these coaches show. We talked about it the last time, the playing in these empty arenas. And we've seen it in professional sports, whether it was baseball or whether it was the NFL, how the game seems a little bit different. The energy, the excitement, what the fans bring is not there. Now, you've said before, fans are great. You love having your fans. You miss the fans, but they don't put on a uniform. They don't play. Do you feel like the actual on-court game, the way it's being played, has been any different here through these games without fans in the stands?
I feel bad for the fans. I do. I think they're the ones that, I'm getting emails from fans during the game. Sometimes they're way to go, and the other ones are, why don't you play this kid more? So, but the fans are into it. They want to be there, and I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for the parents. Again, I'm a parent. And I can't watch my child play. I want to be able to do that. But the fans we've got a very avid supporting cast here that comes to our games that really is our heart and soul. They are. And I feel bad for them. From our perspective, we get to play. We still get to play. In the course of a game, when you are playing, the atmosphere that surrounds the game prior to or after is really, that electric atmosphere is really exciting. And of course, when the crowd is into it in the game and it's exciting, that means a great deal. But when you get in there, sometimes in the game, you're numb. you're numb to the game itself, whether it's a pick and roll, whether it's an offensive rebound, whatever it is, you become numb to that scenario. But I feel bad for the fans. I mean, that aspect of the part is really the part that's really missing right now. And hopefully we can get some sense of normalcy moving forward. But at this point right now, we're just, we're enjoying the opportunity. We're glad we're able to play. That's probably the biggest thing.
Coach, you got Detroit Mercy coming up this weekend for a Friday-Saturday series to be played at the Crest Center, 11 a.m. tip-off each of those days. How different does Detroit Mercy look this year with a leadership change?
I have to tell you, Matt, I haven't watched one clip of them yet. I'm still kind of working on ourselves. I kind of like this Friday, Saturday gig. I like it. It really is nice because you got a whole week and it's very consistent. Your prep time is consistent, and I like that. So I've got some time to break down some films on ourselves, take a look at some things before I move on to Detroit at this point. We're taking 2 days off now. So our players were off yesterday. They're off today, giving the legs a rest. But I don't know that Detroit, Anne Marie Gilbert is the coach. She was at Eastern Michigan. She did a very good job at Eastern Michigan when she was there. And I'm quite certain she'll do a good job in the Detroit area as well. I don't know that they're having a great year so far. I know Detroit beat them, I think, by 19. They didn't score a lot of points on Friday. I didn't see a Saturday score. Did you see Saturday score? Or?
I'm looking it up right now so I don't mess it up. But
yeah, I'm not sure what the game was on Saturday, but Milwaukee's pretty good though. So yeah, I would anticipate Milwaukee won that handily, but
yeah,
they
did
know.
win it. I just don't remember the exact score because Milwaukee.
Yeah. So yeah, at this point, you're right, man. It's not about the other team. It's really about us. It really is.
Milwaukee won 77-38 on Saturday. So definitely not even as close on Saturday.
Yeah. So we need to do the things that we have to be able to do. We have to really be good at what we do. And if we are good at what we do, it won't make a whole lot of difference who we play, So
great stuff, Coach. Appreciate you taking some time. Yeah. We're still bummed that we got to do these virtually this year. Fans can't be here, but certainly appreciate you taking the time.
I do just want to take a minute and tell the fans and the people listening to thank you. I'm sorry things have turned out the way they have at this point. Hopefully we'll get you guys back in the stands because you mean so much to the game, and specifically you mean so much to our program. So in the meantime, thanks for all your support.
That's Coach Kevin Borseth. We will continue on after this from Learfield IMG College. This is the Green Bay Phoenix Basketball Coaches Show presented by Prevea. We do continue on with the Green Bay Basketball Coaches Show, and we shift away from coaches for a moment, and we're happy to welcome onto the show senior Caitlyn Hibner, who is leading the team in scoring and doing a lot more than just scoring the basketball as we welcome her onto the show. Caitlyn, thanks for taking some time. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. How nice was this past weekend? You guys struggled in the 2 losses against Milwaukee the weekend before. You were on a little bit of a losing streak, which is something that Green Bay basketball really doesn't have and do. How nice was it to win back-to-back games at Oakland?
It was really good. It was something that I think our team needed to get back on track and just kind of show the underclassmen what the actual tradition here is.
Leading into that was such a weird few weeks because you had that Milwaukee series, but before that weekend even ended, you already knew that those Youngstown games had been canceled, and then the game against Illinois State got scheduled and canceled, and then it's the holiday period. I mean, you went like 3 weeks without playing a game. What was that entire timeline like for you guys?
I think this whole year we've just kind of have to learn to be flexible, never really knowing what's coming, but as unfortunate it was to not play for that long, I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise. We had some injuries that people needed to heal up, like Haley and stuff. And I know that it was good for a couple of us seniors to get some things taken care of that we'd been waiting to do. So as unfortunate it was to not play, I think it helped in the long run, and I think it'll help moving forward.
I know 2 games don't make a season, but kind of going to what you were just saying was the performance against Oakland, especially in that Saturday game where you scored 90+ points. Did a lot of that have to do with all the practice time that you guys were able to get during the time off?
Yeah, practice makes perfect, obviously. So the more that we can do that, the better. Winter break is nice. We have a lot of extra time on our hands without having classes and stuff. So just being able to get in the gym and work on plays as a team and stuff, I think it definitely helped us.
Is it different for you? You're now the player that's leading the team in scoring. When the other team is scouting Green Bay, your name is probably coming up first. Their first goal is to probably stop you. You probably haven't really experienced that so much until this year. Does it feel different in games? Are you seeing teams do things differently to you this year than maybe they've done previously?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. We've only had a few games, so it's hard to say for sure. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of how the program is. You put in your time over the years, and then come senior year, it's just kind of you prepared yourself for this. I mean, it's different for me even because I've had to take on a little bit of a different role this year with some of the players that we lost last year, moving more into the post position and stuff. So I think it's just kind of new for me. So I'm not really sure what other teams are doing exactly because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So
That's not always a glamorous move to move from a kind of a more guard type player to forward type player. Are you enjoying it? Do you like that move?
yeah, I am. I think it's helped me to expand my game a little bit more. It kind of, it makes it easier on me for the different matchups that I have, being able to go inside and outside if need be. But I've worked a lot with some of the coaches in the off season, knowing that this was the role that I was going to kind of have to take on coming into this season. So yeah, I don't mind it.
What's it been like as one of the leaders on the team trying to help some of these younger players go through? You're all experiencing something that nobody's ever experienced before, but as a leader, as a senior, your job is to kind of help some of these other, the younger players through it. I have to think that's a challenge because it's not something that you've ever been through before.
Yeah, I mean, being a freshman is hard enough. So then I feel for them having to try and navigate their first year of college in this kind of chaos and stuff. So I think the best thing that we've done as like upperclassmen and seniors is just try to be there for them and kind of guide them the best that we know. And obviously just like staying flexible as a team and just kind of taking things one day at a time, and whatever happens, happens.
I don't mean to be negative by any stretch of the mind, but it's not as fun playing in empty arenas. And here you are in your senior year, and we don't really know what's going to happen with the extra eligibility and that sort of stuff. So you don't know all of that. How disappointing is it that you're going and you're playing these games for home games at the Crest Center, and you don't have that normal Green Bay crowd behind you?
Yeah, I mean, we have great fans, obviously, and our gym is always packed no matter who we're playing. I think the hardest part for me is not having my family be able to come and watch. I love all of our fans that come, but it's always nice looking up in the stands and seeing my family there to support me. But I have my teammates and I have my coaches, and when I'm in the game, I'm just focused on that. So as nice as it would be to have everybody there cheering us on and stuff, we just have to be supportive for each other and be each other's cheering squad this year.
This team gets set for Detroit Mercy this weekend. How important is it that after the team clearly made a big step forward in the Oakland weekend to continue to progress and have another good weekend coming up?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, Coach always says like one game or two games don't make a season, and that's absolutely true. I think we're on the right track, and I think we finally started to mesh a little better as a team and stuff. But we definitely can't afford to regress, especially dropping the first two games against Milwaukee. If we want to be towards the top of conference, we really gotta keep winning.
Caitlyn, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
That is Caitlyn Hibner. We'll take a break and we'll have more in just a moment from Learfield IMG College. This is the Green Bay Basketball Coaches Show presented by Prevea Health.